the most thought-provoking hour of the day, dropping jewels and nuggets for the next 60 minutes. For us, by us. You're listening to the Hold Your Point podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Wherever you're listening to this right now, we want to thank you and welcome you to the Hold Your Point podcast. We are the Hold Your Point podcast crew. Thanks for joining us for another tantalizing episode. Glad to have you on board. My name is DTH, and I'll be kind of running things a little bit tonight, but good to be back with everybody. We got Levi Strauss in the building. Levi Strauss, good to have you, brother. Fortunato is here. We have Daryl James, also known as DJ. Michael Joseph is also there with the new sunglasses tonight. And
oh boy.
So we got the usual suspects, but of course we got a very, very special guest as well. And that's none other than Pastor Gil Monrose, coming all the way from New York. So Pastor Gil, welcome.
Welcome.
Hey,
nice to have you on the pod.
Yes, sir.
Good to see all of you brothers.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You as well. Thank you, man. Good to have you on.
Yes, sir. So Pastor Gil, good to see you. We were just with you a couple of weeks ago down in Port St. Lucie. We had the whole Cast Division, and we'll probably get into that a little bit as we progress through the night. But really, we want to give you a chance to just kind of talk a little bit about who Gil Monrose is, if you had to sum it up in your words, for those who may not be familiar with you. Just give everyone a chance to know about your background a little bit and learn a little about you.
Yeah. So, thank you all. This is definitely empowering for me just to be on this platform with all of you. For me, it's good to see young black men alive. I bury young black men for a living, and that's kind of like strange to say, but at one point, up to this point, I've done more funerals of young black men than marry young black men.
Wow.
And I've never buried someone who's older than myself. In terms of the gun violence or youth violence, handgun violence, hate crime, and the likes. And so for me, I needed to start to figure out a way of how do we change this whole narrative around the idea of making sure that black kings, as we should be called and identified as, know that their life is worth more than just the context in which they live in, right? The environment. And that's hard to do, right? Because if a brother is on a block for 16 years and he grew up to believe that the block is his, but yet still there's no investment, they don't own property on the block, but yet still the block is theirs. So just the whole mindset. So listen, I'm someone who interrupts the norm of violence, crime, racial injustice in our communities. But my biggest and greatest joy is that I'm a father of a boy and a girl, and a husband to Diane Monroe. So that's my biggest joy and title for myself. That's who I am.
That's awesome.
Well, for sure. Pastor Gil, I'd like to welcome you again to the platform. Probably the best platform, for talking about spiritual things going on with young people. So thank you for being here again. I wanted to ask you just a little bit about your work with the God Squad. I was doing a little research, and I wanted to, if you can elaborate on that work here just a little bit.
So you supposed to be telling me what your research showed you, like. What's up?
Well, I mean, from
all the information.
And I have some questions that'll follow that as well. I mean, from what I found, I've seen that you guys are in the community actively and kind of called upon when things are happening. So if you can, expound on that a little.
Yeah. So I started 4 nonprofits. Well, actually started 6 nonprofits, maybe 7. 3 failed, not in the sense that fail as in it's not a financial situation, but it failed. It didn't go through, right? And so And so I've been building things all my life. And when I talk about building things, I'm not saying that I'm a construction person. I know how to handle a hammer, but not in that type of building. I've been building structures, I've been building programs. And so I was the founding president of the God Squad, the 67 Precinct Clergy Council. And in New York City, if you know New York City, we're breaking up into precincts because New York City is so big, so vast, that the police department break it up into small chunks so that they can be managed. And every precinct or every area have this police force that deals directly with the community in which it resides in. And we were seeing uh, a lot of murders. I mean, I was sitting at a church one day, and I heard some commotion. And I went outside, and a 16-year-old young man who lived on the corner got shot and killed. Right in front of the church. Just about 2, 3 doors. And that's when gun violence met me. I didn't set out to do gun violence work. I had no idea about gun violence work, to tell you the truth. But in doing the work, and the way that the Bible is written, and the way that you see in the New Testament, churches are only called to cities. There was never a church that started because they disliked someone of what they said, and then they went down the block and then they started another church, or they went down to this area and they started another church. Churches was always called to cities, right? That's why in Revelation they have the 7 churches, and they're all cities.
Right.
So the work that we did, like in my mindset, if I was in a different area of America, my ministry probably would have been different. But because gun violence met me, at the doorstep of our church, I had to then pivot to say, what is the active gospel ministry? What is the message that Jesus would want to give? Not to shepherds, but to people with guns, right? People who have no hope, people who can't see coming out of the situation that they're in, who have nothing to lose. And so the God Squad was started so that we can give hope. And the way that you give hope is that you could never be a good shepherd if you don't smell like your sheep. What does that mean? It means that you got to be touching, feeling. You got to be in the trenches.
That's a good
And
line.
so
That's for sure.
if you don't love people, you can't lead them. And you could never be scared of people if you want to serve them. So our ministry and the way that I look at it is from the gospel. It is gospel centric, from Luke chapter 4, verses 16, 17, 18, that says that Yeshua went into the temple and he opened the Torah and he read from the book of Isaiah the prophet. And Isaiah the prophet was saying that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. But to do what? Not to speak in tongues, not to raise money, right? Not that these things are not good, but it is to do the action work, is to open the eyes of those that are blinded, not just physically blind, because you can have vision, you can be blind, and you can have real good vision. Like Samson, he was blind, but he had vision. But you can see 20/20, but yet still you're blind to what is going on. You have no vision, because without vision, people what? They die. They lose the way, they perish. And so I had to decide, how do I vision my way out of the mess that we in? And so that's one of the reasons that I became I'm the founding president of the God Squad.
Nice. Hey, now, thank you, Pastor Gil. I'm hopping here. Thank you for definitely having you on. I saw you a couple weeks ago at the Catch the Vision event. It was a great event. Just want to throw everybody out there. I know there's another one coming up 2024. But anyway, I just wanted to ask you, like, I know you already mentioned it, and you kind of touched on it a little bit. As someone who dabbles a little bit in the political realm myself, just in terms of following politics. I just wanted to ask, like, how do you kind of bridge that separation between church and state, just for quote unquote words, like like how do you navigate those waters, because there's definitely different, so just wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, don't be fooled, brothers. There is no separation between church and state. Okay, I just want to bust your bubble.
Good. Yeah.
No, because the thing is that, right? think about this, and I've been saying this to anyone who'd listen, and I've been saying this, of course, to my faith leaders. When you have a school break that's called spring break, that is actually Easter. Okay? When you have Christmas break, that is actually, whether you believe in the birthday of Jesus Christ or not, that is actually Christmas. All of those are spiritual holidays.
Yeah.
The only time that church and state is separate is when the people who don't want to support or give the resources to the church say that the state should be separated from the church. But yet still, on every dollar that we have, it has in God we trust. So I know that America, and I believe that America is not founded on Christian principles, but hear me out. Even though I do believe that America is according to one bishop that I know, he said that America is a Bible quoting nation, not a Bible believing nation. What that means is that we have a lot of biblical texts. Like we would fight for the unborn, but yet still, if a young man by the time he turns 14 die in the womb of America, we don't have anything to say. But we could put a 16-year-old on the death penalty. What happens to a child between when they're born and when they're 16 years old? So church and state, the only way that I separate church and state is in the bank account. Meaning this is that I don't want the state telling me what I should preach and what I should believe. So there it is separated. Resources into the church from the city or the state or the feds, you create a separate nonprofit organization, which we've created, to receive those funding so that the work that you do is on the humanitarian aid side. But I would say to you that there's a very thin line between church and state, and I believe that those lines could be bridged if we understand exactly how to use it for the best of our benefit. I will also say too as well, it is also to the detriment of, even in our church tradition, I don't know where everyone is from, but just talking about the Sabbath keeping tradition, let's say if you drill down even more to the Church of God Seventh-day, let's say you drill down even more to the Caribbean American type of Church of God Seventh-day, it's a disservice because people think that God should not be mixed with politics, which in of itself doesn't make sense, because we have had a lot of political figures in the Old Testament.
That's true.
So I have a lot of different views, so I don't want to,
No,
I hope
you hit it.
I'm rocking out.
Well, we're here to hear it all, man. Whatever you got to share. But let me ask you this. So, as you mentioned, and we're all Sabbath keeping Christians here as well. So, you did mention that there's a aversion to politics, either discussing it or being involved in it. Where do you think that comes from with us in the Caribbean church? Did something happen in the past and they said no more Christian politicians, or is it just, because as you said, if the Bible history shows us that we've had, Christian political figures, why is it that there's an aversion to doing that today?
Yeah, so it's a couple of things. I don't like to get involved in the back end of the politics of things. I'm talking about, you cut the deal with me, I'm going to lose my values because you give me money. I'm going to cut the deal with you because I want something specific for me. That is the politics that we want to stay away from. The great the great theologian, British theologian John Stott said that Jesus was not a politician, but whatever he did had political implications. And so what that means is that because we are pushing against systems, because we're not fighting against principalities and we're fighting against principalities and powers and wickedness and rulers in high places and darkness. Because we have to push against systems, racist systems that is steeped in American history. It means to say that we must be involved in the political aspect of pushing us to a place where laws are just for us. So it behoves the church to get involved in the politics of governance, in the politics of moving from one area to the next. That is the politics in which we need to come from. So I think that it is the lack of exposure, I would say, that most pastors would say that we don't get involved in politics because the politics that they have seen is just a politics of the day. Like I do something for you, like some people would have red or green, or they belong to the Labour Party or the Reform Party. My thing is that whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green Party, Yellow Party, or Blue Party, as long as you're voting and as long as you're part of the process of trying to make America great, not in the idea of make America great again, not sure if we were great before, but make it great in terms of that every one of our children have the same equal right and access to resources as every single person.
There you go.
Yep, yep. Pastor Darrell James here. As the others said, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I just kind of wanted to switch gears a little bit. I know we talking politics, but just want to kind of switch gears. I think it's awesome what you're doing with the gun violence. That's especially what's going on today. That's needed, and I think you're actually exemplifying what all Christians should have, and that's love, love for one another, love for your brother, love for your sister. Um, Sometimes I may voice my, I don't want to say, I don't really know how to say it, but sometimes I feel like we kind of get stuck in the cycle of going to church and having church each week, and
Mhm.
I sometimes I'm thinking like we should be blessing those and helping those out in the cities, right, and showing that love to one another. I
Daryl,
just
when's the
wanted to
last time
kind
you
of
went to church?
when's the last time I went?
Yes.
Oh
It's
Lord.
been it's been a while, brother, but that don't even matter. That don't even matter. No, but no, my excuse. I live in Tampa. Ain't really no churches this way. So, um, but yeah, Dave, you made me forget what I was saying. But but yeah, I just wanted to kind of get your take on it. Like, how do you like? Obviously, you're a pastor in the church, but I mean, what do you feel? How do you feel about that? Should we maybe on some weeks just go out and just bless a family that's in need? Or yeah, just want to kind of get your
Yeah,
take.
yeah. So definitely, we need to get to a church in Tampa for sure. Um, we gotta check that
No
off the box.
excuse.
So we're gonna take care of that before too long.
Okay.
Um, the second piece is that, all right, like so during COVID, I've been saying to the church over and over again, and even after, I'm not pushing people to come to church because I want the seats to be filled again. That's not my idea, right? Because at the end of the day, it's God's problem, not mine.
Mm,
But the reason that I'm really pushing young people next to us to come into church and be part of a fellowship is because we got so much work to do and we can't do it without them. And so when you come to service, it's only a touch point for what you have done in the week and a touch point of what you're going to be doing for the next week. It's not the end all be all. It's not, church is only 10% of ministry. I would even dare to say that even the preparation before you even get to church is even more. Like you should
100%.
be more in tune with what your preparation is even before you get to church.
Right.
Mhm.
Church is a touch point, right? And it's also that COVID has showed us that as humans, we are not meant to be isolated. That's not what God meant
Yeah.
for us. Because we are touch, we have to touch, we have to feel. If you want someone to turn into the worst torture of any human being is put them in a situation where they never touch another human being
Hmm.
for a year or so.
Right. Isolation.
Because we weren't meant to be by ourselves in that sense.
Ourselves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Rabbi Paul was making the statement that you don't have to forsake the assembling. It's not just the idea to bring people to church because they're going to be in a boring service for 4 hours, or bring them into a church that is not structured. It's the idea of bringing them in so that he can connect again, give you power, so that you can be recharged to go out again. So that's the essence that I believe for fellowship and service, and that's what I try to provide. In our services, I try to provide an opportunity that I'm pointing to individuals, but I'm also inspiring them to understand that yes, you might have a hard week, yes, you're dealing with things in life, but I want to give you some tools and some tips to help you.
Through the week.
Throughout the day. I want to touch you. I want to feel you. I want you to see that people care for you. I want to hold you. I want you to have a meal with the person next to you. I want to remove you from the mundane things of life, at least for a few hours, to be able to have you be able to captivate your mind away from the just life. I also want to say to you, James, too, as well. Now, the way that I understand the Sabbath is very different in the sense that the Sabbath was never meant to restrict us, right? And it was never meant to put us in a bind. That's not the reason for the Sabbath. You know the one reason for the Sabbath in terms of what I would say to you? The Sabbath, the reason that we quote unquote keep the Sabbath, or we honor or observe the Sabbath, if you want to say it that way, it's really, yes, to show that God created the heaven and the earth in 6 days and he rested is a sign of creation, and we recognize that. Yes, that's good. But for us, the real reason is because God needed us he needed to create space for us so that we can reflect on him, worship, and stop doing just the regular things. You think I want to be doing this that I'm doing every single day? So the Sabbath is not to restrict you. The Sabbath is actually to free you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would love, if I'm free, to be able to pop into church because I have nothing else to do.
That's definitely a concept I learned as I got older.
Yeah. Well, so Pastor Gil, do you feel that other brothers and sisters share that same sentiment with you? Is that something you think is more or less unique to you, your view of the Sabbath? Because I would say from my view, while people have good intentions, good hearts, they do kind of make it a burden to themselves in a way. And I'm wondering,
Yeah.
why? Y'all have seen that, right? So I think,
Yeah.
So like,
100%. Yeah.
what is it? How do people transition from that way of thinking? Is it just like, is there a discussion needs to be had, or is that just?
I'm not sure. I try my best. It's not like for me, our job as leaders is also to highlight the scripture. When Jesus was looking at the text, he was not trying to change the word of the text. He was just trying to show them that, listen, don't be fooled. I mean, to be a murderer in Matthew chapter 5, you don't have to take a knife and kill someone. You can hit somebody in your heart and you can be a murderer. All I'm saying is that it's not about the labor of the work that you do. It's not about cooking, not ironing, not washing dishes, not going to the store. But it's really about creating real space in your life so that you can have a break, so that you can actually just think about God things for just 24 hours. And the reason that we were really based on performance, like the don'ts.
Right.
Like you would have never been able to say that, our forefathers will allow us to go run around in the park on a Saturday.
No.
It's great to go take a stroll and go to the park, see friends, tell them what you're doing, have some type of spiritual talk with people. That's great. Now, I'm not advocating going into stores, buying food. I'm strict on that because I think that a break is a break is a break is a break. But talking and going to the park, taking a walk with your wife, your husband, your children, and just walking, see mangoes and you pick it, you eat it, you enjoying God's beautiful creation.
I did that earlier.
Yeah. that is what I think that we're missing. Hopefully hopefully the message will get around to us.
Right.
So now, Pastor, I wanted to ask too, because I see in the community, you work with a lot of different clergy leaders and different spiritual leaders from different denominations. But I really wanted to ask why does it seem like there isn't more Church of God Seventh Day leaders like in the forefront coming out trying to help in the community with people who are actually doing real work and real change?
Yeah. Um, you said it. I think it says you said real work and real change, right? And it's a culture. We was told and we was taught that you can't contaminate yourself with the world, but yet
Hmm.
still we go to our secular jobs every single day.
That's true.
Yes.
Um, we were told that's how we were taught, and I think that for the Sabbath keeping churches too as well. I have said to them over and over again is that they do like a reverse thing. They would ask me a reverse question. The number one question that I always get is that um, how much have you seen your church grow with your activities in the street? And I always
Yeah.
pivot to the fact that I think that if I was not in the street, my church would have been definitely stale. It could have been big, but it would have been stale. There'll be no life in it.
Wow.
And it is for us is not only about our seating capacity, it's really about our selling capacity.
The
It's
impact. Yeah.
about being a blessing to people, and then God is going to then make that change in that person's heart. During COVID-19, I baptized 2 police officers at the height of the George Floyd pandemic and
Wow.
That's
protests,
great.
Wow,
right?
that's
I
impressive.
baptized 2 police officers. I was like, now is the best time. And I posted it up like, while there's police tension, here it is that I'm saying to these two
Hmm.
young men, listen, you need to be saved.
Mm.
And to me, that those are some important things. Like if I was not someone who was out there like that, I wouldn't meet and baptize individuals. My church is not a huge church, but I want to tell you that my church is a very powerful church. My church is a church that is strategic in community, and our church is a lifeline. It means to say when people are at the darkest moments, we have remedies for them. They come to us. When people are down and out, they know where to find us. And all we have to do is be a blessing, because I am not concerned about how many people have on the roll of my membership, because membership only identifies you, but discipleship empowers us. And we have to not start to move to empowering people to be disciples as opposed to just trying to build membership, which again is just filling seats. Don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
love to have a lot of people in the benches to do the work, but God is going to bring the increase. All we have to do is be faithful to Him and His call. So why we don't see as many Sabbath keeping churches, pastors who are out there? Because again, they don't feel that that's the need of the mode of evangelism. I talk to people every single day, man. I minister to people, love them, give them opportunities to come, and God has to do the work. But I want to tell you that, we're not going to be a stale church. Our church is always going to be on the cutting edge in our community, trying our very best to save who we can.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You mentioned I wanna segue to the church part real quick. You mentioned your church, the Mount Zion Church of God. It's a pretty historic church in New York. My parents used to go there when we used to live in New York, before I was even born,
I was
and all
blessed
that.
there.
Amen. Yep. And so yeah, it's a pretty well known church. So I just wanted to get like your take. Like, how did you get to become the pastor? Like, what's your story? Like, where did you start? What is the steps you
Mm,
took? Like, and did you always think you would be a pastor, just like that? But yeah.
absolutely not. Thinking to be a pastor? None of you guys on this thing think you're going to be a pastor.
Nah.
I'm not.
Because because you're trying you're trying to figure out you want to have a nice car, right?
Yep.
Of
Well, yeah.
course.
You want to be married, you want to send your daughter to college and your son to college, you want to travel, you want to have money. So this thing is not lucrative. So I actually think that, like, for us, for me, and I don't want to sound cocky, but I think that, I was born and placed into a special place in this generation, because when I got fired from my job, And I went to the church and I said, listen, I'm not going back to work. I'm going to be a full-time pastor. It was like, okay, how are we going to pay you? So I had to create all of these avenues of resources all in a nonprofit field. And I never one day dreamed that I would have been a pastor of the church. And I actually was going to Denver, Colorado to go to Summit School of Theology that the conference had. It closed that summer. And my uncle in New York said, why don't you come to Nyack College? We came to a private school, a Christian Missionary Alliance school. And I graduated from Nyack College with my degree in biblical and theological studies at Nyack College. And working with the church, and from one thing you do youth service and youth work, and you apply yourself, and I became the pastor of this historic church, now understanding the breadth and the width of a legacy church. We are a legacy church, meaning that our church have produced more churches than any other church, and it's not all because it was bad or because there were breaks and separation. It's just that people grow, they develop, and they leave generation upon generation. So we are considered to be a legacy church, and that's our role. If there's nothing else that we do, if we close today, just the tentacles of Mount Zion itself, all over the U.S., Africa, and every place else, you would see how of a blessing it has been to a generation. So I didn't believe that I was going to be a pastor. I never thought that I was going to be an executive of a nonprofit, not just one, not just two, not just three, not just four. And I never thought that I
All
would
right.
be, advising like the mayor of New York City, meeting with the president,
Nice.
really do. I never thought. All I thought that I was going to do was I had wanted to do something for God, but I didn't realize that this was going to be it. And when I started to be a pastor, I was terrible. I was not a good preacher at all. I stunk.
That's funny.
I mean, and it's not like a strong point. I never went into ministry because I wanted to preach. I was always leading and building, like I said to you. So people ask me like, how do I have all of these jobs, or how I do all of this, and I'm not overwhelmed and stressed out, because God gave me a special gift of administration, leadership, and government, and that is my strong point.
Nice. Um, Pastor, I mean, you just said you have a lot going on. You got a few nonprofits, you're pastor of a church. So that lets me know that you are pouring into a lot of people. But I want to know, where do you get your strength? I mean, I know it's God, but is there any brothers or sisters that you can lean on, and you can, get filled and, you know, get rejuvenated?
Yeah, sure. It's very helpful to have a solid family. Um, my
Oh yeah.
wife always say that we don't want you to save the world and then your house is
Hmm.
going to the dogs.
Yep.
So good family, very supportive is good. When my kids were younger, I would travel more before COVID, but really when they were younger. And one of the things that we used to do is that they used to be part of my trip. So I used to let them know what country I'm going, how long I'm going, and where I'm going, and would have them to talk to me about where I'm going and where I'm going. And so they would be part of my trip. I won't just get
Experience.
up and then leave. And they'd be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Daddy's gone." I
I
have
don't
missed a
know.
lot
Yeah.
of birthdays, and I've missed some anniversaries as well, in terms of marriage anniversary, because I was away, whether it was Africa or someplace like that. But I never neglected my family. So even though I would miss a specific day itself, when I come back or before, we would always go on a trip and we will celebrate together. And I allow my children to know and understand that, listen, we're not a normal family, in the sense that I will not be at every single thing, but I will always be there for you for every single thing. And that's why for me,
Wow.
because of my flexibility, I had the opportunity to be the person or the parent that dropped my kids to school the first day at every stage of their life, from
That's a blessing.
yes, so kindergarten to preschool to junior high to high school. I've always have been with them for the first day. So there is some things in our family that is there to us. So a good family and good structure is good for me because they pour into me.
Hmm.
Um, So recently, of course, I have a life coach that I just got a life coach, and the
Nice.
life coach that I have, he is a retired bishop from the Episcopal Church. He is now retired, and I was doing some work on my national clergy group called Clergy for Safe Cities, and he saw the work that we were doing, and I was doing, and he offered to coach me. So now I can say that I have an opportunity to be coached by one of the biggest bishops in New York. I mean, sorry, in the U.S., which
Nice.
we speak for an hour, and that is very helpful for me to release a
Hundred
lot of
percent.
things and to put things in perspective.
Hundred
And then, of
percent.
course, you have different folks who you talk to, but I think that's my main outlet, along with a lot of traveling, massages, walking a lot.
Yeah. 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 No. No. That
That's a
that
good.
that's That's awesome. I mean, you said family. I mean, iron is sharper for iron is pretty much kind of the same thing where you were saying about with the church. It's a place where you go and get recharged, and you go home and get recharged by your family, and you're pushing hard in for your family, right? For your kids. So now that's pretty awesome. You definitely drop a lot of gems there.
And even with all that said, I mean that's a perfect illustration too of the verse that says your gifts will make room for you and bring you before great
Hmm.
men. So
Talk
that's
about it.
that's a definite awesome example.
Yep. 100%.
Hey, Pastor, I have a question for you. Welcome.
Finally,
Yeah, I just, you know what,
And
you
wake
have
up.
some. Listen, you have so much good nuggets and knowledge. It's and to encourage a lot of young people. There are a lot of young people aren't able to really speak out because of, especially in this generation. So my question is to you. When was your first experience? Do you remember with God, and that it was for you to lead and be in your position that you are, and how can you encourage other young people who are in the same situation, but they're more so distracted, I want to say, more than actually going in the direction that God has for them.
yeah. Well, so this generation is a special generation for sure. Um,
Talk about it.
that's why I'm recruiting you young men to deal with the generation, and I'll deal with you. All right. So I deal with you, and you deal with them. Okay, and then you train others to deal with the other generation, but I'm gonna deal with
There
y'all.
you go.
Hey, I don't think I have the answers either, Pastor Gill. I'm gonna be honest. So I know we're part of the generation and everything like that, but I think some of us just think a little bit differently and move a little
Yeah.
different. But
Hey, don't 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 forget there's a generation up under us now.
Yeah,
They,
right,
whole
that's
different
I,
mindset than us.
that's
I
what they
think
call
that,
Yeah,
and
the
that
Tide
that is
Pod
true.
generation. I think that's what they
Whatever
call
they call it. But I mean, I think that's a big clash that a lot of times are holding us back is the generational, and not a gap, but how generations think, because a lot of
hmm
young people
Definitely.
feel different because a lot of it's in my personal opinion, it's culture. It could be where you're raised and how you're raised and how you view things. So that was my question is, like, how can you encourage the young people to really not allow their culture or whatever they're going through to distract them from being what they want to be,
yeah. I think I would say find something that you love to do. Don't chase your money. Don't chase money. Just try to figure out what you love to do. So what I did when I was like a teenager, I don't know if you guys know, but my claim to fame in the beginning was that I had one of the largest newsletters in terms of subscription back in the day. My subscription was about 5,000 people. And these was all like mailing what we used to call in him newsletter. And so I started off by wanting to publish and to print. I didn't start off wanting to be um, a leader, an advisor, um, a nonprofit executive. I started off by just trying to print to enlighten young people, start sending all over the world. And every single day for about, let's say, about 5 years, every day of the week, every single day, I used to get a letter in the mail. It took me about a year to get to that point. I used to get 2 to 3 letters every single day in the mail. You listen to
Wow.
what I'm saying? Not emails, regular mails, every day from
Letters.
all over the world.
Snail mail.
And that was like amazing. And I just started off trying to do, to be helpful. And I did not have the support of the leadership in the church, but I still
Wow.
thought that God wanted me to do it. Now, God didn't come down and whisper in my ears that He wanted me to do it, but every time I turned to do something different, He would redirect me to that path. So I would say to young people that you don't have to be ashamed to do things for God. You don't have to be ashamed to go and say, listen, this is what I'm doing. Not just the people who are artists and Maverick Cities and all of those individuals who are now look cool, look hip, and it's good to kind of be in that space. But I'm talking about people who wants to be theologian, right? We need people who are academians and who are going to be writing books on funky subjects that you probably might only get like 5 books sold, but in that book has like a wealth of information, right? Professors will be telling the students that you need to buy this book. The books that are bestsellers are not necessarily the ones that you got to use in college, right? So I would say
That's
to
true.
young people, don't be afraid to do cool things for God. Like, don't be afraid to even fail and allow God to use you.
Yeah.
Hey, that's great.
100%.
And so, Pastor Gil, I got one more question. Can I call you Pastor Gil? Is that
You,
okay?
you
If I call
need
you
you
Pastor
need
Gil?
yeah, that everyone
Okay.
call me Pastor Gil. That's it.
All right. All right. Perfect. Pastor Gil, I got one more question for you. So, overall, where do you see the church in about 10 years? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, just from my perspective, like, I see like less and less young people who go off to college and bring back the things that they've learned and acquired back to the church to help the church grow. And if we stay on that trajectory, I mean, I don't see like where the health of the church continues. But from your perspective as a leader, where do you think the church would be in about 10 years?
Yeah. So if you did some research about on me, I used to write for Huffington Post. I think I did maybe 4 articles, and they stopped doing that particular feature. But in one of the articles, I talk about I'm always thinking about where the church is going to be, because to me, I should have like 10 pastors who are my age who came into me. This is my 17th year of pastoring.
Oh,
17, 1 7. I'm not 50 yet.
Wow.
And
wow.
and I didn't have a class that I would say, man, I got like a colleague that I can call, and I can call them and I could relate to them. They could relate to what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
I didn't have that. And I don't see that happening too, because then I don't see younger pastors coming up who wants to pastor, not just want to preach. Right? Preaching is something. You don't have to be a pastor to preach. You can preach. I tell people all the time, when I come to your church, you I'm not you didn't hire a preacher to come. You're gonna get a pastor. And I want to speak to you from that level. So I don't know exactly where we're gonna be in 10 years, but I do know in 10 years, maybe my job or my work full time will be just to be talking to and trying to recruit people to go into ministry. I think if we don't attract and get young people like yourselves in the pulpit, we are going to even lose even more young people. Like for me, like I'm not considered to be like a youth. I don't do youth motivational speaking. I don't do like youth stuff anymore, because I was forced into developing leaders like right away.
Hmm.
So it's going to be tough for us, and we're losing a lot of young people. I know that. That's why we did the conference in 2002. So 2002, I was already thinking about where the church was going to be. That's 20 years ago.
Wow.
And 20 years later, now I'm still saying, my goodness, like, wow, we got to still do more work. So I think in 10 years,
Work is
we will
plenty.
continue to see our decline. And I don't know if the decline is going to stop, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's why the days are shortened.
Yeah, I definitely like what you said there, Pastor. You know that we have to. It doesn't have to be a leader or in that point. Just get more youth people in the pulpit, then encourage other youth to want to be in the Word. And I think that's very important because you know, to see a you know older generation up there, you kind of take it for granted. But if you see one of someone of same age or in youth area, you know, it is encouraging.
But young folks today, even as I look at the conference, is that so I would say, I mean, I don't know about you, but like the teenagers have more money now than when I had money. I used to beg my mom for $5 or $3. Teenagers will go into a supermarket store or into on eBay and spend $250 on the sneakers. You know,
Facts.
Crocs
Cell phone.
cost
Yeah.
$70, $80. They all have it. There is no teenager that's not walking around with Nike, New Balance, or whatever shoe by the basketball players. That's never a problem in our community as to what shoes they're gonna wear. But if you tell them to spend money to come to something that encourages them, nurtures them, let's say like Catch the Vision, right? And I'm not plugging Catch the Vision, I'm just saying anything. People, like I said, like you would spend and you would go where you think you're getting value.
True.
Why is it even our parents today don't even push our children to be involved in those type of things, like those spiritual activities, and spend the money to do so? So it's like this generation, again, they're really caught up with the fascination of not just the world. That's not, I don't want to go, that's not where I want to go. But they're fascinated with being seen as within the realm of their peers. They don't want to be different anymore. They all want to, all of them want to dress the same. They want to wear the same stuff. There is no originality before. Like back in the day, you would want to dress different. Now today, everybody wants to. So it's the right word is assimilation, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're assimilated into.
Just about.
Yeah.
In the Matrix, yeah.
But you brothers have a lot of work to do.
Well, you know,
Work is plenty.
there's plenty of work. The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. But, you know, we're here. We're trying to do our part. And, you know, we're so thankful that we had you on, Pastor Gil. Just before we get you out of here, you know, Catch the Vision 2024, if you want to give us a little more information just real quick about that and what we got in store for that.
Yeah, so right now I got I got 5 soldiers. Listen, if I don't do another conference, it's nothing to my ego, my monument, man. I host events and I get 300 clergy members at these events. 250. I go on Zoom calls. It's nothing to my ego. What I'm doing is for us. It's for you. It's for everyone. All it is that I have the vehicle to do it, and I've been doing it for 20 years, and God gave me a vision to do it in 2001. My first conference was 2002. I need people to, all I need is dreamers. That's it. All I need is dreamers. A few dreamers with a passion to think that we can be crazy enough and radical enough to change 1 or 2 individual minds to stay within the faith. That's all I need. That's all I need is dreamers. I don't need anything. You guys don't have to send me any money. You don't have to give me any donations. I'm not gonna be knocking you for donations. I don't need anything for me, nothing for my family. I don't ask for money for myself. All that I do, and I pay my own way to my own conference, and I don't take a penny. I don't take a stipend from my conferences because it's all about love. People pay me in the other realm to do what we need to get done. So all I'm saying is to if I could get 5 of you to commit to trying to rock out, taking a platform and make it into something tangible, to use the platform and no one believe that anyone is getting more glory than the other. Again, it's not an ego and it's not something to my, I don't want to build any monument. You don't have to name a street after me. But if you dreaming together and you have love and compassion and you want to see your church and the family that you love continue to grow within the denomination that you're in or the structure that you're in, Catch a Vision 2024, we're bringing back our Global Leadership Summit. We're bringing back our Praise and Worship and Music Boot Camp. We're bringing back our Digging Deeper's
Nice.
Youth Conference. We're bringing back our Faith Over Everything Youth Conference. Digging Deeper Children Conference. We're bringing back our Marriage Enrichment Conference, track 2 as well. And then, we're going to be rocking on with our nexters, the next generation. So, if we get 5 of you to be dreamers, we'll be good to go.
I have a dream.
Hey, Pastor Gil, I just want to say I definitely think that you're a brilliant mind, and and especially in the Church of God Seventh Day, you're pioneering and doing stuff, and I support 100%. So whatever we can do here in Florida, for sure, we want to make sure we do our part. So thank you for everything that you're doing, not for just the church, but the communities, the young people, just young brothers who look like us, and really just showing us like, you can do this at a young age and make it cool, and so it's awesome. 100%. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Hold your point. Hold your point. Don't leave. You gotta hold your point. We're gonna have a hold your point whole thing going on for that conference, and don't forget the 100 million.
There you go.
Hey, love it.
Dude, I don't know if you all saw this, but the black Israelite, they're very heavy with black men, and the reason that men, especially black men, join organizations because they want structure, they want order, they like to see that, and I think that we need to show that too as well. That's why I think like the Black Mill Initiative is really good. I'll say one more thing too as well. I remember that the first time, I know we yell at the time, but the first time that I did a Black History Month program in our church, it didn't go over well. It was like, we shouldn't be involved in that. And I said, Negro, you came here, they're treating you like a dog, and we shouldn't do Black History Month. Are you kidding me?
100%.
Get real with him, Pastor. Hey, I love it.
What are you talking about?
We need to educate.
To do.
Yeah.
Like, and so to talk like militant, like say like the men in the church say, listen, you guys is what Jesus said that when I die off and another pastor come of a different color and different shade, you'll understand what I'm saying to you. But right now you don't understand. And I understand you have a complex because of slavery, postpartum syndrome.
Yeah.
I understand that. You don't understand what I'm saying, and you probably wouldn't. So the reason we don't talk about black power or blackness in that sense is because we think that it's not Bible. But everybody in the Bible is from the region of Africa.
Come on, Pastor.
My Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, now.
That's just the facts. But you know what? That's such a good point for us to kind of conclude on, Pastor Gil. We thank you so much. Thank you for not forgetting that you are a black man, and we appreciate that, because here on this platform, while we do want to reach out to everybody, we definitely feel a certain push and loyalty to try to help up the black community, especially the younger ones in the Christian faith. So we absolutely appreciate you. We wish you well, and we will see you soon. Catch the Vision 2024. Hopefully, everyone listening will feel inspired. I know we do to help and do our part and be join the nexters and helping the next generation come about. So, this has been another episode of the Hold Your Point podcast. We are the Hold Your Point podcast crew. And
yes, sir.
We will see you all next week. God bless.
Make sure you like and subscribe. We out of here.
Hey,
Absolutely.
hey.